And then the last one was a boundary that I decided to put in place, which I think I've been too scared to put in place up until this point, but I thought, okay, well, let's, give it a go. And that's the boundary of when I'm putting the baby to sleep, no interruptions. So before, when Finley was 2.5, when Eva was born, I tried it, but I just felt he was too small, he couldn't understand it, and Eva just had to learn to live with, going to sleep with tambourines and, occasional screaming and shouting and tantrums, and she did, because she was that type of child. Thomas is not really that type of child, so he needs, a little bit of peace and quiet to have an hour nap. He's 6 months old, so for the last 6 months he's been having 15 to 20-minute naps because there's two of them and there's always noise or tantrums or somebody wanting something. So I sat down with both of them. Eva, I wasn't so focused on her because I know she will sort of copy what Finley does. So I spoke to him and said, well, I need you to not interrupt me. And what does that mean? Unless there's an emergency. And what does an emergency look like? Blood, somebody about to fall off something very high, broken, we went through the list and he added. And so, and I said to him, the diligence part of mine was that as soon as I'm finished with Thomas, I will come to you and ask you if there's anything you wanted to tell me. Because his thing is, as soon as I've gone into the room, Mom, I just want to ask you one more thing. And it's something, and so I said, okay, I'll come and ask you. And I know you're very excited about whatever it is that pops into your head, but you just got to hold on to it until I come to you. And it took a few times, because the first time, in the room for 5 minutes, and it was like, there's an emergency, she drew on my paper, It's like, okay, well, that doesn't quite qualify as an emergency. Or, and what if she hits me? I was like, well, even if she hits you, you guys need to sort of talk to her and sort it out amongst yourselves, because I can't actually keep coming out every 5 minutes. So, and it took about 3 or 4 days, but that's been working really, really well. That's been amazing. And Thomas is sleeping for like 2 hours, which has made my life so much better because, I'm not constantly on edge about him. The stuff that hasn't really worked for me this week is we've had measles in the house. So Eva's had measles. So it's been challenging to sort of stay calm and focused and remember all the things I'm supposed to be doing when, dealing with her, and also being respectful of Finley and his needs. So I realize that my expectation is he needs to know that this is a serious situation, that I need to give her attention, and I can't really look at his sticker book right now without sort of snapping at him, and telling him to just go out of the room, I'm dealing with her. So that's been a bit of a challenge, but that is, in a stressful situation or when I'm feeling anxious about something, trying to make sure that he gets what he needs as well, because it's sort of, she's number one priority, and then second is the baby who needs to be fed and put to sleep, and then unfortunately you're falling to third place all the time, So I think that's been,
And that's the challenge of the older siblings, right? Yeah. We often have the expectation that they will accommodate because we're dealing with other things which are really important. Yeah. And then, as you said, what's great about your sharing is that you said you were aware that that is what you're expecting of him, which doesn't mean you're initially going to change the expectation, but the fact that you're aware of it means that actually if it's not working, that you've got that expectation, at least now you can do something about it, which means you either have to share that with him, that actually I'm aware, because this I find really useful, is that I share with the older sibling then that I'm really aware that this looks like Mom's really been unfair to you. Because I'm always looking after the baby, and then I'm always asking you to be quiet, and you want to say something and are all excited, but I'm asking you still to be quiet or not to play around here, and it just looks like I'm being unfair. And then you correct in that what you can do in that, what you call your diligence part, was actually going to them and saying, okay, well, after I've done that, I promise I'm going to come to you every time, and I'm going to ask you whatever it is. What did you want to tell me, or what do you want to do now? So that it actually shows that you're not just always going to push them to the side, but you're going to give them focused, quality engagement, time, interaction as well. So that awareness, again, is such an essential component. And no doubt, as you've expressed, when one child, or actually anyone in the family is sick, it just, routines change, areas of focus or attention change. There's so much more going on. It's far more challenging just to have that flow back, which is why it's so useful that if you've got strong relationships, you can handle those kinds of disruptions far quicker, because the moment that a child experiences that you also have their best interest at heart, they're going to cooperate with you in those times where it looks like you don't have their best interest at heart, because they know that you do. And therefore they have a far greater tolerance of that disruptive behavior, which is essential when you actually really do need that time. Great, so that one is also really clear. One, that when you're nervous about a boundary, put it in place, it makes it very difficult for the boundary to be implemented, right? Making a decision like you did, well, maybe it's time to try it again, then opens up that ability, especially in the work that you've done now, in being conscious about how you're going to put it in place, the detail that you need to put in place. Like you said, you sat down and went through, well, what does emergency mean? And an awareness that you're going to go through a cycle and realize, oh, there's a whole lot of other detail we've missed. She's drawing on my picture. Oh, no, that's not an emergency. And if you're aware of that, then it's no longer like, oh, I'm just not getting it right. It's more like, okay, we just need to tweak this and then tweak that and then give it in. And from how you shared, it also sounds like your language is also respectful, as opposed to, this is what I'm doing and you better, obey it, or else there's trouble. So a lovely example of really those three areas: being clear about what the boundary is and what it looks like, how you shared that with him, your delivery of it, and then obviously the diligence and then following through. And as you said, it's in process, which is what boundaries are. They're never finite, because you have to keep coming back. So great, lovely example. Anything else about that? Thank you.